Hello and welcome to the sportsbet.io Euro podcast. This is this week's Serie A version, but don't forget there is fantastic interviews with Juan Castro and Taufik Khalil as well on our Bundesliga and La Liga versions of this too. But speaking of fantastic experts, we've got the brilliant Mr. Daniele Veri with us as well today, who looks at the Italian action for us every week. Daniele, we will start with Cagliari against AC Milan. Now, we've got to start with AC Milan because what a performance that was away at the Bernabeu midweek.
Yeah, fantastic match. Fully unexpected, to be honest, based on what we had seen before. But maybe AC Milan, we said that before, it's a team who has a specific pedigree for big games. So when they did really well this year was in the derby and in Madrid. So fair enough, two big games, won both of them, and pretty well, I would say. So, I mean, maybe it's a start of something. We don't know yet because, I mean, AC Milan have been really fluctuating in terms of performances so far. And there is a difference to play in Europe or to play in Italy. I mean, Fonseca went so far to say that it's more difficult to play Monza than Real Madrid. I wouldn't go that far, to be honest. But from a certain point of view, I would say I do understand what he means in terms of man marking in Italy and not getting enough spaces and blah, blah, blah. I mean, obviously, a night like that also maybe boost the expectation and maybe also the determination and the will to play such a game.
Well, what I thought was really smart as well is for that Monza game that you've mentioned, he left out a number of key names and sort of came out, didn't he, after the game and said, I've left them out for this Real Madrid game. I wanted to keep a few fresh for the Real Madrid game. And it worked brilliantly.
Yeah. Well, yes, on one side, yes. On the other side, I mean, this is not maybe, let's say, anything unusual by a manager to leave a couple of key players out if you have a game like Santiago Bernabeu game coming up in 3 or 4 days. So, that's true. It's not, it's nothing new in terms of football. You're probably also alluding to Leao, who didn't play at Monza, but played pretty well and was quite decisive in Spain. I do agree with that, but we need to remember that there is an issue between Leao and the club. That was the 3rd game in a row that Leao didn't play from the start. We've heard what Morata said after the game at Santiago Bernabeu. He said that Leao is the way better player in the squad. He's the best player in our squad. We want him to be decisive every time. This is something that we have already heard several times, but never so clearly outspoken as Morata said. He said, he's much better than me. He's much better than anyone else in this squad. So he needs to prove it. So this is something that you don't normally hear from a player. No one says he's much better than me, but Morata went that way. I mean, he's right. I mean, if you take the potential of the player, I mean, in terms of age, in terms of quality, in terms of everything, how he's definitely the best AC Milan player. But he's been and he is struggling still to prove it. I mean, now he played well, but I remember also great performances of him when AC Milan won the last title or against Paris Saint-Germain in Europe last season. But then again, you can't stay 4 months or 5 months without performing. So you can't perform once in a while if you are a professional football player. Otherwise, you get your money maybe once in a while, but that doesn't happen.
No. And Cagliari's home form of late has been pretty poor, so it does look like AC Milan have a good chance of winning that game. We've got the Turin derby, Juventus against Torino. Now, 2015 was the last time Torino won one of these derbies. Juve off the back of that draw with Lille in the Champions League as well. But Torino, they don't feel right to me particularly. They are scoring goals recently. I mean, apart from that Roma game, but it feels like there's something a little bit off at Torino at the moment.
I mean, they started off very well, everyone, and me also at the same time. I was saying, Vanoli, new manager, is bringing new mentality, is doing well, but then obviously losing Zapata is a big blow for them. Zapata is their top scorer. There is no one else like him in their squad. So it's a pity not to have him in the derby. It was quite fit, or as well, he was performing well before he actually got injured against Inter. It's a shame not to have the Colombian striker on the pitch. I agree that there is something off with Torino at the moment. They're not performing well. They're struggling. There is a sort of involution in them. I don't know why, and I think they can come out of it, but I don't think they have a much better, let's say, overall quality than in the last few seasons.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I agree with that.
I mean, two key players are missing. One is Zapata, the other one is Shore, a good defender. But I don't know. Turin is there. He deserves to be obviously in the Serie A, but I mean, as they missed European football in the last seasons, I can't see them clinching this season. It's difficult. There are too many clubs doing well.
Yeah, and a couple of surprising clubs who are doing really well as well. It does look like a likely Juve win. Yeah. Atalanta. Now, I mean, Atalanta win again. They are beginning to look like a really talented side. Pre-season, you were quite rightly concerned with some of the key players they had lost off the back of that big win in Europe last year. But they are absolutely flying. They're scoring tons of goals. The defence looks sound. Yeah. And yet again, Gasperini is getting something extra from this team, isn't he?
Yeah. So one thing you said, it's becoming to look like a squad full of good talent. I mean, they must be already a squad full of talent because, I mean, they won with Europa League last season. Obviously, Cup Miners is a big blow. But as we said, Scamacca, who played a great season last year, got injured in the same day or the day after they announced Retegui. Retegui developed into a class player. He's got 11 goals in 11 games. I mean, I don't expect him to score 36 probably, or 38, as many as we have match days in Italy.
I think what I sort of meant by that was that after losing people like Cup Miners, we weren't sure where the team was, is what I think.
Of course.
In the, obviously, they were successful last season, but we had questions. You certainly had questions pre-season over this side, but they're answering those, aren't they?
Yeah, they are definitely answering. I mean, as we also said during some previous episodes of this podcast, it's amazing how Gasperini can ignite new qualities or can improve players and keep his team competitive. It's incredible. The guy's incredible. I mean, he really is the key of Atalanta's success alongside the club itself.
Yeah.
Okay. These are the two key factors because the club is very stable. I mean, they don't, let's say, waste the money that I'm exaggerating now. Okay, I'm exaggerating. That Manchester United waste on the market.
But it's all relative, though, isn't it? It's all relative, right? You have to spend £1 billion, but what's your version of £1 billion? And they don't waste that.
No, they don't waste that. And you always have a feeling of stability between the manager and the club. There has never, ever been a hint of discussion between them. Yeah. Obviously, I mean, after he won the Europa League last season, there were rumors he might leave, but then he didn't want to leave. And why should he be leaving? I mean, he's doing great. He's got 8.5 seasons behind him now.
Yeah.
So it's his 9th season at Atalanta. I think it was 2016 when he started. It's incredible. 2 UEFA, 2 Coppa Italia finals. One Champions League quarterfinals went out in the very last minute against Paris Saint-Germain, who then marched on to the finals, to the final. And a UEFA Europa League triumph last season. I mean, what they are doing is fantastic. Atalanta, it's incredible. The amount of players that come in almost unknown, go out as stars, and then stop performing afterwards. So it means they find something special in Bergamo, and that special thing is the manager.
I wonder if his sort of pretty negative experience of managing a huge club. He went to Inter for, was it 5-6 months? He wasn't even there that long, I don't think. I wonder if that kind of has taught him that when you're happy and you're settled and you're doing well, perhaps the grass isn't always greener. Might well be the way that he's looking at that. We will finish with a really fascinating game. Oh, sorry.
Just one thing. No, sorry, mate. Just one thing on that. I mean, Inter was in a funny period of their history. They were, So Gasperini probably simply didn't have the chance. It wasn't the right moment. I'm sure that if you give Gasperini the time to work at AC Milan or to work anywhere else, he will do it. Because, I mean, now he has reached a status. You could say maybe 5 years ago, 6 years ago, he wasn't at the same level of those big names in European management. But now Gasperini is one of them. So any player who comes to Bergamo or he will train at any bigger club or whatever, will have to listen to him, because he's proved often enough that he's good, that he knows what he's doing, and his teams play well. I mean, it's fantastic. He's a fantastic guy. In terms of football, I don't know him personally, so I can't say.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of recent brilliant performances from Atalanta, they beat Napoli. And Napoli, of course, travelled to Inter Milan for this massive game at the weekend. Yeah. Inter, with a pretty good performance against Arsenal, did what they needed to do, got those 3 points, and Arsenal yet again leave frustrated. What does Antonio Conte say to his players about that Atalanta result? Or does he just say, bad day, big game up next, roll on?
Yes, roll on, obviously. I mean, you can't sleep and cry too long over a defeat. I mean, Napoli are top of the league after 11 games. Who would have said that at the beginning of the season? Not me, for sure. So they should be happy. They don't have to start looking around at the Inter, AC Milan. What are they doing? Which results do they get? I mean, Antonio Conte knows well enough that he's working on a project. There's a development to be done. I mean, he's way farther down the line than what he probably would have expected.
Yeah.
I mean, not playing in Europe is an advantage. But, I mean, they proved to be very solid. And he said after last game, I mean, fair enough, they were better than us. They're a strong team. We knew that. They played a fantastic first half. I mean, the third goal came in injury time. So, I mean, Atalanta deserved to win in Napoli, but that doesn't change the overall look that we have in the league. Obviously, it has made the table a bit shorter in that sense, so there's even more interest in that sense. So it's even more interesting to see what happens next. But I mean, Antonio Conte is experienced enough and has lived enough troubles also in football not to worry if he's top of the league.
And also, I mean, nobody with a Lombardy postcode was allowed into the game anyway. So I do wonder the fan aspect of that. I wonder if, it would be very, very strange. You play in the home ground where you normally get this incredible support, and then there's one guy from Scotland in the crowd. I mean, it's
fair enough. It's pretty weird. It's something that it has become common in Italy to avoid, let's say, clashes between the fans. It also often happen on the motorways where, let's say in this case, it could be Atalanta traveling to Napoli. Napoli fans traveling to Milan and crossing their path with Roma fans coming back from Bergamo. I'm just saying, I mean, there are reasons also, exactly, for avoiding fans traveling in order, because it has happened in the future. There has been also deaths. People who died on the motorway in station, petrol station and everything. Both buses of fans of different clubs stopped, and there were issues. So
and as for Inter Milan, they'll be delighted with that result, of course, over Arsenal in the Champions League. Hakan Çalhanoğlu with the penalty that separated the two teams. I mean, how good did they look against Arsenal?
I mean, they did what they had to do, and they look good. I mean, I was at the stadium, May. I want to make you jealous, okay? So I was at the stadium last night.
Off the back of the Classico as well, this is getting more and more upsetting.
It's getting more and more, May. It's fantastic. Life is fantastic. Jokes apart, I had the feeling that Arsenal could have played 3 days longer and wouldn't have scored.
Right.
So, what do you want to say? I mean, they were never dangerous apart from a corner kick at some point. Right. I mean, you could expect more from Arsenal, but where was Inter so good to stop them, where Arsenal not so good to upset? the Nerazzurri. I think Inter played a great game. Inter played a defensive, I'm not saying masterclass, but they played a very good game defensively. I mean, they didn't concede any chance. So when you go that far against Arsenal, who didn't look fantastic to me, but who are Arsenal, so they're good enough to score. And you credit for that, you deserve the win. And Inter, in my opinion, deserved the win. Honestly, I had the feeling Arsenal could have tried for 3 days longer and they would have never scored.
Who do you think wins that game then, into Napoli? Because I find it very hard to call that match.
Of course, we've seen Napoli playing one big game, so to say, so far. 2. 1, they lost it to Atalanta. 1, they got a good draw away at Juventus. I mean, Napoli will be very careful. I mean, they're coming off a heavy defeat at home. They surely want a second consecutive defeat. Maybe tiredness will play a role, despite the fact that Simone Inzaghi was smart, but I mean, he always is, and he uses turnover very well. So I mean, Barella, I mean, played less than 1 hour, no, 30 minutes. Thuram played 30 minutes. Di Marco played 10 minutes. Lautaro came off after an hour. So he turned all of his, Çalhanoğlu the same. So he turned all of his most important player around so that they didn't,
fresh.
None of them play the whole 90 minutes. So they'll be fresh enough for the game against Napoli. It's difficult to make a prediction. I mean, I can see Napoli defending well. I don't know. If you ask me now, I will say Inter based on what I've seen. But I mean, Inter are... Yesterday was the very first defensive, convincing performance of the season by Inter.
Right.
Okay. But that came in the Champions League. That came in a big night. That had the flavor of a round of last 16 or quarterfinals, but that was the numbers also in terms of people at the stadium, let's say entries, money-wise, from the game. So there was a big Champions League night. We'll have to see if they can replicate that in the league where they have been struggling in terms of defensive performances. Let's see what happened last week against Venezia. They won 1-0, created many chances, only converted 1, and then in the 98th minute they conceded the goal, which was disallowed for a handball in the penalty area. But they're living dangerously in the league, Inter. I don't know. I can't say. I mean,
score draw is what we're saying then.
Score draw is what we're saying. Let's do that. Why not?
We'll find out. Daniele, thank you so much, as always, for your fantastic expertise. We'll speak to you in a couple of weeks. We've got an international break next week. Boom.
Can I point out one thing, May?
Absolutely.
Before we go? Let's watch out for Lazio and Fiorentina, who are becoming true protagonists of this league. Fiorentina are playing at home against Verona, and Lazio are away to Monza. They both have 22 points, the same as Atalanta. And in case Napoli win, in case Inter win and Napoli lose, and they all 3 win, we will have a lot of people on top of the league. So it's fun. I know. Okay, obviously it will be Inter. If Inter win, they will go.
But like you say, Napoli top of 25, Inter second with 24, Atalanta 22 in third, Fiorentina 22 in fourth, Lazio 22 in fifth, Juve 21 in sixth. It's looking like a great league season. Incredible league season Serie A this year.
Yeah, it's fantastic, May. I mean, it's every week there is something new. So happy. I mean, Napoli has been sort of dominating so far, but they lost the last one. Now things might look a little bit different. But at least it's all there. It's all open, and it's nice to watch games and see how it develops.
It's going to be amazing. I can't wait. It's been a great season. We've got some really, really good football across Europe this year. Daniele, thank you very much. Don't forget to check out all of the opportunities with sportsbet.io, and of course all of the videos on the Clubhouse TV channel as well, including the NFL, including La Liga, Serie A, Bundesliga. It's all there for you. We've got all the big action covered, and Gav's chat with the Premier League guys as well.